We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the PB Church. Again, as a reminder, PB Church will never ask you for money, never ask you to leave your other church. It's 30 minutes on Sunday morning from 7 to 7:30 Eastern Time. You go to www.ravingfan.net and join via Zoom. And so it's a lot better. It's like a concert, Amy. It's like a concert. You want to go ahead and participate in the live to feel all the energy. Normally, we ask others to what they'd like to accomplish or what's on their mind, but I got to throw up everything that's on mine. So, Patrick at Pickleball, we were talking about how ego people focus on themselves. And then how Elaine, we were talking about how when you see a success, why do people go ahead? Why does it kick in ego? Like if you praise people, you often go ahead and it goes to their head. Like it's weird. It's like, well, you can't praise that person because it goes to their head and then they don't. And so, like the visual that I got in my sleep last night, is like we went down the class 5 bus rapids, and it was, you see this wall. My 27-year-old son and I were in the front. You see this wall, and it's a wall, and I mean this stuff hits you square your whole body gets hit with this wave, like you're just like a rag doll. It's just boom. And that had happened more than once. And he goes, and so you see this, and you see this wall of water, and then you see this, like you're going to go straight down, like you're off the wall. You're just going to go straight into the abyss, and you make it through that, and it's the most exhilarating feeling. Like you're like, whoa, we made it through it. And then all of a sudden the whistles start blowing, and there's 6 rafts, and behind us, a big dude, fell out of his raft, and we look back, and so everybody's after that person that lost, that fell out. And it's like, it's so fascinating to me. Oh, this creates my brain is just spinning like round and round. It goes where it stops. Nobody knows. And so in the Bible, they go ahead and it talks about David when he was a shepherd boy, and and a lot of people say that good Baptist training that I had, where, a shepherd, we look at it and revere and, oh, it's so cute and everything, but it's the lowest form of, like nobody wanted this shepherd's job. Like it's, oh, you're a shepherd. And so he goes ahead and, but in the Bible verse, and there's a song out there about where if the shepherd loses the sheep, if a sheep wanders off, the shepherd's going to go after that one sheep and rescue it, but it puts the other 99 at risk. And so there's some songs. Ooh, I just got an idea. Like it's like I could use songs. So there's songs that, right. Anyways, but the Baptists, what they teach is, God, like the shepherd will go find you at the risk of the other 99, which is pretty inconsiderate of the other 99. But the Baptists teach that if a sheep, I guess this is true, I don't know, I've never been a shepherd, so I haven't fact checked this, I don't know. But what they taught as a little boy, like you wander off more than once, a shepherd literally, if they have a sheep that's continuing to wander off, they go ahead and teach that the shepherd breaks the legs of the sheep.
Oh.
Did any of you guys get taught that?
No, never.
see, that's a shame, because does anybody know why it's a shame? Does anybody want to know why it's a shame? Like why you don't, why you really want to understand that?
Well, unless they were
Yeah.
using it as a sacrifice that they used to do, and it would be blemished at that point, they wouldn't be able to use it. Now, whether
No,
that's
no, I mean, a sheep, if it keeps wandering off, because I don't know, it's not paying attention, it's not learning its lesson, it would break its legs to, to make that sheep remember, don't wander off. And then it
well,
would carry it around on its shoulders with broken feet because it couldn't walk. And that sheep probably wouldn't wander off again.
Yeah, but won't the sheep die?
No, no, broken leg. You don't die if you break your leg or all four of your legs. No, it hurts. So the reason this is a shame that none of you went ahead and did it, one of the greatest gifts I think I have is maybe my fear of God. I'm not saying it's appropriate. I'm just saying I have a, like Dan Graham, he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when I was in my 20s. And he went ahead and he said, Mark, I've never met anybody that has a higher fear of God than you do. I think I have less of a fear of God now, and I don't know if that's good. I'm not saying I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's good or not. It might be. I don't know. So anyways, so Elaine and I were talking, and so she's like, it seems like when people succeed, so we succeeded, we were down the rapids. So there's water all over the place, and it's rough and tumble. And we're down, we're kind of celebrating, like, yeah, we made it down. And then this guy falls in, and all the attention goes to this guy. And I'm telling you, they told us what to expect. They say if somebody falls in, you look at them and they have the fear of death because they can't control it. The rapids, and there's boulders and all kinds of stuff. And somebody at pickleball said, oh yeah, I have a friend who died because they got pinned against the rapids. And you're in there, and this guy, he was terrified. I mean, the fear in his. And so we were the closest one. And so the leader, the guide said, row, and we got to him. And then, big dude. And so I got a toehold, and then I grab his vest, and then Ben grabs his vest, and then he pulls him in. We pull him in, yank that dude in. And all of a sudden, we barely get him in. And all of a sudden, the guide says, lean in, everybody lean in. Well, when you're leaning in, something's happening. Something's about to happen, and you got to lean in. And I don't know so I just kind of follow direction, like just do what you're told to do. And then all of a sudden, I didn't realize, while we're pulling this guy in, we get turned around because we had to pull him in. And now all of a sudden we're going down the rapids backwards. The next class 5 backwards with a big dude in there. And it's like, now we're going down forward is terrifying. So I figured out in my sleep last night, I'm like, so people celebrate because they in life, and they're like, yeah, I made it through that. Yeah, look at me. I'm a hero. Like, yeah, maybe not. You're going to hit another rapids backwards in life. And so people don't have this fear of God. And so they pat themselves on the back. And so what we've been working on is like the next dimension principle here. And so like here you go ahead. And so this is what's called a dimensional gap. And so people don't want, and this is where churches, bless their heart, like everybody wants to be comfortable. Like my dad, he's a pastor his whole life of the GRBC. And, he really committed suicide. Somebody's supposed to say, really? how do you do that? Like, really, how do you do that? And it's like, we stopped eating and drinking. And I really struggled with that. I really struggled with that. And I'm like, let's call it for what it is. Let's be honest. He committed suicide. I mean, he knew, yeah, he had some Parkinson's, he had some stuff, but he knew. I mean, you stop eating, he's 75 years old. You stop eating, drinking, you know what's going to happen. So I was struggling with that. And Ralph Miller, a friend of mine, he was in his 70s when I was probably 60 something, or no, 50 something. And so he's maybe 20 years older than me. And I said, hey, Ralph, I'm really struggling with my dad's death. He's like, why is that? I said, he's really committed suicide. I mean, he really did. And he's like, well, Mark, it's not the right decision for everybody.
I agree.
And so he didn't judge my dad. Like, he's 75 and his health is failing. And my mom, she was on hospice the same time he was, but she had stage 4 cancer, and they gave her 2 to 6 months to live, and she lived 18 months. And I think she could have, like, if she knew Karen or Jill, then she could have lived. But she was surrounded by people, that were old. And so old emotionally, mentally. So here is a dimensional gap. So you're going from one dimension to another dimension. You're going from one dimension to another dimension. And so you go ahead and have all of this here. So what happens is, what I visualized is somebody makes a dimensional jump, and they go ahead and they're up on top. They're in this next dimension, but they don't understand what's coming. They don't understand the rapids. They don't understand, in this new dimension, you're going to get hit far harder than you got hit before. And so what they do is they slip off. They don't ratchet it. They slip off and they slip down here, and then they go back to where they were again. And so people want to go ahead, like my dad, when he retired at 70, my youngest sister was a medical doctor, and she said to my mom, don't let dad retire, because if he does, he's going to die. And so I don't know. It was a lot more exciting in my sleep last night than it was here. When I explained it, I was kind of expecting you all to just laugh. Holy cow, Mark, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. But none of you did. I don't want fake doing it. Like, don't give me fake anything. But I will say, and I don't know, I might have a bad memory, like, or it might have just been the right time. But like, it's interesting. So a week from Wednesday is the 6th anniversary of our oldest son's death, Jonathan. Jill knew Jonathan. And so it's on a Wednesday too, which really sucks, or it's good. I don't know how you look at it, but because that's when he died, was on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And so now it's the same day. And so, man, and part of me says, like, somebody asked, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, nothing, just work, just have a regular. So does that mean that I haven't healed? Like it's okay. It's fine. But anyways, Mike did something very surprising. And again, if some of you, I mean, I could see Jill doing this. I could see Karen doing this, but maybe they did do it and I forgot. And so if there's anyone watching this and I forgot that you did it, I apologize. But I gave Mike, and Mike and I have, how long have we known each other, Mike?
I was trying to think of that the other day. It's been weeks, but
Right. That's what
but I don't, about months, maybe.
Right, a month, maybe not a very long time.
Well, maybe a month. Yeah.
Right,
The first
maybe
time I met you was at the Aquatic Center. So,
right, right. And so it hasn't been long, and we talked almost 2 hours yesterday. It was really interesting, and uh,
great.
so I don't know. I gave him a bunch of stuff, and um, like I don't know. We went deep really fast, and it's like in the rapids with me, and it's not one class five. It's like it's just like every time you talk to me, it's more and more. Like it's just insane. It's like I mean, this guy truly doesn't have a life. Like he just doesn't. He does not have a life. He just doesn't. I mean, let's call it for what it is. I gave him a bunch of stuff, and he went and ran across this. And I've given this out to a lot of people. So this is the song that Jonathan wrote before he died. 6 years actually before he died, and like 2 3 weeks before he died, the person he wrote the song for, Donna. So I knew her from business, introduced her to Jonathan. And so the story behind the music. So this is an interview I had with Donna after he died. And I don't think anybody's ever watched both of them or commented on them, at least. But again, if you have, I apologize, but I don't remember. It was strange, it was strange to me that like Mike watched it, both of them, and then he commented to me. And nobody's ever done that I remember. And I've given it out to a lot of people. And I thought, it's just strange. Like, how did he know to do that? Why did he do that? And a while ago, there was a wife I was talking to, and she mentioned something about her husband talking about empathy. And I guess the husband had one definition of empathy, and the wife thought it was a different definition of empathy. And so the wife went ahead and said, "Yeah, no, honey, that's not your definition of empathy." And that's not the right definition. And they kind of, I don't know, discuss. I don't know, but something. And then looked up the definition of empathy. And then she shared it with her husband. And he's like, wow, really? Why would anybody want to have empathy? And I think that's the reflection. So years ago, I ran across this, the thing of empathy. Empathy requires this, like it's the highest form of intelligence. So empathy is the highest form of intelligence because it requires us to suspend our ego, move beyond our own perspective, and actively connect with an emotional reality of others. This profound ability perfectly complements traditional intellect, making it highly advanced form of intelligence that drives human connection and understanding. And people don't have it, and people don't want it.
AI said that.
Yeah, Google. Yeah,
That's interesting.
there's a saying. It's like I forget if it's Plato or whoever was originally attributed to it. Where this is what they said. It requires us to suspend our ego, and so anyways, all of that kind of collided in my sleep last night. I thought it was really profound. When I come out and try to get, all this is rattling around like an hour ago. I'm sleeping, and it's like wake up, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Hey, I got a question for you. Since you were talking about Jonathan, uh, why is it, uh, or how did birthdays ever come into a thing where you have a birthday party?
Well, see, this
But,
is where Mike, just so
but you
you
said, I was
all
just,
know,
go
like
ahead.
like Mike, he's totally opposite. He's more opposite of me than personality wise than my wife is. And so he is way, way, way opposite of me. And so I am a analytic driver. He's a double expressive with a double amiable secondary. Like he's just totally 180-degree opposite. I didn't realize until I was 59, Mike, that why birthdays, I could never figure out why birthdays were important. Like I'm just like, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Well, you could celebrate, if you knew, I mean, other than they're not there with you, but if you knew it could be a celebration at a death day, if you knew they were in heaven, you know what I mean? Um, there,
Oh, all of you are like, Mike, you shouldn't have said that. Now,
I'm
like,
sorry.
like Mike, so, so on the way he picked him up. So for those that don't know, it was 6 years ago, rifle shot to the head. So it's pretty violent, pretty brutal, you know, and that's how he died. And Tim, our 19-year-old son, was 5 feet away from him when it happened. And yeah, everything that goes around that story is crazy. And so, and other people have trauma anniversaries, which I guess is the anniversary of his death. And so I guess you're supposed to romanticize it. And it's like you celebrate his life, which is fine. I mean, there's not a criticism of what other people do. People do whatever they do. If it's healthy, that's great. I don't know. So,
Well, I've never heard of anybody doing that. I, I was really my question. I don't know where the birthdays celebration came into effect. I just,
Probably another thing from the greeting cards.
that could be. Yeah.
sometimes I'm a little rough on women.
I don't know. I personally think a lot of the things that we celebrate were just created from the greeting card companies so that we would spend money.
Yeah, I'm not saying I disagree with that. When you have a 1-year-old birthday party, who is that for?
For the parents, it's not for the kid.
And when you say parents, which one does it seem like it's for?
I know one thing I like about birthdays actually is the fact that our whole family gets together, which, I always like a reason why that is, or when we can. And so that to me is a positive thing. When it comes right down to it, when it's my birthday, I don't need a present. The present is really having everybody there.
Right.
So
Yeah. So my experience, is that moms go ahead and love birthday parties because they love, I don't know, it's interesting. They just love the attention. So I don't know. So, but going back to the empathy, like Mike was nice. He went ahead and he listened to, and then I felt for a moment, I'm like, wow, like he really understood. Like he doesn't, but he's trying to. He's trying to understand. Like he's trying to understand the pain. So we were flying out to get our youngest son and Ben, he would have been 21 years old at the time. He leans forward in the plane and taps me on the shoulder. He says, "Dad, do you think that Jonathan's in heaven?" And I said, "Well, bud, if what we were taught is true, then there's no question he is. But I'm not sure we were taught the full truth of that." So devout Christians, especially Baptists, man, they hate that. They hate that. They just, you walk down an aisle and you know that, Jesus Christ, you believe that you're a sinner. You believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and paid the penalty for your sin. And you ask him into your, life to be your Lord and Savior. And if that's really, like, it's not an outward, it's an inward. If that really happened, then you're going to heaven. I mean, it just is. And so that's the GRBC Baptist. And it's like interesting. And so, I mean, he did all of that and he showed a lot of signs, even in like a couple weeks, he had gone bear hunting. And he's like, "Dad, I felt like I was in heaven." He says, I've never been 2 weeks before he died. It's like, that was so exciting. He said, I mean, I almost died 3 times on the trip. So he was kind of crazy. And so falling off a cliff and, just weird. Anyways, he liked that kind of stuff. And so didn't have a fear of death for sure. And so he said, I was talking to him like, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks before, he said, like, this whole world, so that was COVID, right when COVID was starting to really, it was in June, so it was really when it started. He's like the Bible says, Dad, that, what's the good are going to be bad and the bad are going to be good. And acts of evil will be celebrated and acts of goodness will be, and so I don't know, I don't know. So, Mike, you've got something of a gift. You've got something, I don't know if it's empathy or something. So the key is how do you train that? It's not that hard. Like, it didn't take that much time. And I've always wondered, why don't people do that? Like I know the gateway to my daughter's heart is through their children. My daughters absolutely fall in love with me when I'm with their kids. When I go on adventures with their kids, they absolutely, like, we went out to ice cream. Grandpa and Grandma treated. We had all 11 of the grandkids together last night, and we went out to ice cream. I think the kids, my kids, they laugh because they're maybe a little jealous of the grandkids because, whatever the grandkids mostly ask of Grandpa, they want to go on an adventure. Grandpa's going on an adventure because they're kids, So we went on 3 adventures last night, getting ice cream and in an Amish place. It was pretty interesting, but I can just feel my girls' hearts are so connected to me when I'm goofing around playing with their kids, when I'm having a good time with them, when I'm making them giggle. They just absolutely go ahead. And so I think, like why don't people realize that about a dad and his son? I mean, it's okay, it's fine. But anyways, Mike, wow, Mike, is there anything you wanted to accomplish today?
I had nothing on my agenda, short of at some point I want to talk to you about last night, but it does.
Right. So anything beyond 30 minutes is a gift from you to me to you, and us to one another. And I'm telling you, so Mike went to a wedding last night, and he and I talked before he went to the wedding, and so he actually, followed through on something that we talked about, which is unusual for not Mike, but for people. They talk a lot, but they don't do it. So yeah, no, I want to hear that. Jill, is there anything you wanted to accomplish today, or questions or thoughts?
Not in particular.
But there was something.
Yeah, but Well, I just wanted to comment when it goes back to Jonathan with with the song and the meaning, the lady behind the song or who he
Yeah.
wrote it for. I don't ever remember listening to both of them together.
I see.
I've listened to them separately, but I don't ever remember listening to them together. So that's something that I think I need to go back and do today.
And Jill, like everybody, like Mike said, I never met Jonathan, but it would have been really cool. And Tony on Saturday, we're doing a podcast on kindness. And he said the same thing. And so Jill knew Jonathan really well. He was famous for his 1 minute video productions, and he did one for Jill and her business. And it's one of my favorite videos. It's unbelievable. And so she loved Jonathan.
That's for sure.
Jonathan loved her. It was crazy how much it is. And so it's pretty neat. Karen, anything you wanted to accomplish today?
Things that I'm not supposed to accomplish on a Sunday, I suppose.
Well, the way the Baptists were taught is Sunday, like we could never buy anything, never go out to eat, never spend money, because then we're supporting people working. And so that's Baptist. Sunday was definitely like you could play sports, you could do things on Sunday that you didn't do the rest of the week. And so that's how we were trained. You could do things on Sunday, you didn't do the rest of the week. And so our family was pretty much, you worked all the time, 24/7. Yeah, you always worked. I mean, I don't know how my mom found out so much work. I mean, it was crazy. Another story, another time. Ask about the work ethic. It's unbelievable how my parents, especially my mom, she was an unbelievable woman. Like, revere her. It'd been so funny for you guys to meet her. She was a pistol. Like she was, yeah, she had some sass on her. Like, you didn't mess with mom. She was cool. Anyways, so if it was play, you could do on Sunday. So what you do, Karen, hopefully I'm not leading you to sin. Don't violate your own conscience. But like when I was doing excavation out, on our property, that wasn't work. I wasn't getting paid for. So I'd go out on a Sunday morning because I just loved it. So the key is, Karen, just love whatever you're doing. You can do it on a Sunday. If you love it, why wouldn't you do it on a Sunday? Like, if you're enjoying it, like, just do it. Like, I'm going to head off to pickleball here in a little bit, And it's like, yeah, I mean that, and then I meet people that, aren't in church, and then I'm able to share, and, it's crazy. So, I don't know, but if you love doing it, why not do it on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
The Lord's Day. I mean, yeah. Rosanna, anything you got?
No, this is interesting.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
Ginger Ann, great to have you on, Ginger Ann. I don't know if you know Karen, Jill. I don't know if you know Karen. So Karen, this Ginger Ann. Ginger Ann's due, with her number 7th. Maybe, on the anniversary of Jonathan's death. That's going to be interesting, which is kind of cool, right? Death and life. I mean, they're both there. So that's her number 7. So she's very pregnant right now. So we're excited for her number 7. So great to have you on, Ginger Ann. Is there anything you want to accomplish, sweetheart?
No, I don't think so. Just jumping on and trying to assimilate.
Yeah, you'd like Karen. She's sassy. She is a sassy. Ooh, she is sassy one, but she's always got a smile on her face, and so always smiling, which is kind of cool. And you'd enjoy Mike like a lot. He's got a cabin, I think, on the lake or something, like an hour and 15 minutes from here. He hasn't invited me there yet, Ginger Ann, but probably like if he had he loves children. Like
I'll just have Mikey ask him.
Right. Like he's one of those, he's different than me. That's why I want to hang around him, because maybe something will rub off, or or I just hang around him because he's one of those fun grandpas. I mean, I try to do it, but it's just natural and he teaches like really good lessons. Like Unbelievable lessons. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk. This is a bonus again. Take off. Like if you got to go, go. Just leave. Like don't miss your service. Go, leave. But Mike, I'm excited to hear about the wedding and what happened at the wedding. So go ahead, Mike.
Oh, so we're not recording now?
We are recording. We probably shouldn't.
Okay, well, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay, it's up to
Well,
you.
Well, first I would say in the service itself, weddings have changed quite a bit from what I'm used to, but that's okay. They don't have to be like I'm used to, but the groom who I'd never met, I'm relatives of the bride. He stood up there the whole time and did not have a smile on his face at all. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, something is wrong here. And the pastor, well, I'm not going to talk about her.
Right. Well,
But
do you want us to, do you want us to pause the recording? Because that creates a lot of curiosity for people. Like they're like, man, I should have been here for the live session. So I tell you what, why don't we pause it? So again, we're going to pause it and then we'll come back and do a summary of it afterwards. See, this is why you want to attend live, because you always come early, always stay late, and sometimes in the middle even. So we're going to pause it. That's really cool. That creates like, ooh, I wish I'd have been there, right? You should have been here. This is where it really. Oh my gracious. I can't even imagine. You guys missed the greatest thing. You got to come live because otherwise you don't get it. So what you just missed was really classic. So cool. So, but here's some good stuff that we will share. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So we go out on the balcony and I go up to my cousin, whose sister's daughter is the one that got married. And I said, hey, Todd, I got, the groom. I go, his name. Yeah. The groom. I won't say his name. Is he okay? I go, because he was like not smiling at all. And he goes, Mike, you do not have to worry. That guy is solid. And I said, okay, great. But I'll tell you what, looks were definitely deceiving on that one. But fast forward, then we're sitting at a table. Well, we met this, as soon as I got up the elevator, the doors open and there's my uncle, my aunt just died earlier this year. And before she died, she was upset on her deathbed because she was going to probably miss this wedding. And so they actually had a chair all decorated next to my uncle where she would have sat. And so I come out of the elevator and he's like, Mike, I go, hey, John. And, I give him a hug. And there's a guy sitting next to him. And I just reached my hand out. And I said, hi, I'm Mike. And you know me, Mark. And I said, he goes, hi, I'm Troy. And well, here it was my uncle's brother's son, who I've never met. And funny thing is, we end up sitting with them at the table, at one of the tables out of 14 tables. I end up right next to him. So we're chit chatting and I go, well, hey, Troy, what you retired? Are you working yet? He goes, no, I work. I go, well, what do you do? And he goes, I work for a kind of a battery company. I go, really? And so it's called B, the number 2 and U. If you could Google it sometime, it's kind of interesting. They actually take old batteries out of Teslas and Chevys, what are battery cars, and they put them inside, which are still good, by the way. They put them inside containers and they wire them all together and they actually create extra energy like in Texas during peak hours.
Right. I've read about that in the Wall Street Journal. It's the coolest thing.
Right. So I said, after he talked quite a bit, I said, well, Mark, all of a sudden Mark kicks into my brain. And I said, well, do you have what are some of your biggest struggles with what you do there? And I couldn't get him to shut up. Right. And I said, I have a friend that he's like an international speaker. And I said, he knows a lot of people. I go, I have a feeling he could probably help you with that. And I go, I sometime have him give you a call if you're interested. And he goes, yeah, that'd be great. So we traded numbers, and he wants you to text him sometime.
Right.
So
Right.
it's pretty
Right.
funny.
Right. It works. Like
It works. It works, Mark. I actually did it.
you're just nice to people.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And so Karen and Jill could do this all day long because they're both interesting. And so you just go ahead and say, when you're meeting somebody, you just say, you have 3 minutes in the conversation. You just 2 minutes, 30 seconds. You just say, I'm just curious.
Right.
So I learned that from my grandkids when they're 2 and 3. They're just curious. They're curious about everything. So why do they get all the fun? I'm 62. I want to be curious about everything too. So you just go ahead and anybody you meet, you just say, hey, I'm just curious. Like, what would you say with all the things you got going in all areas of your life? What would you say your biggest challenge is?
Right.
And they'll tell you. And then you just go, put your hand to your chin and you just lean in. You go, that's really interesting. Tell me more. And then they'll tell you more. And then you go ahead and it's actually, it's PS evangelism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's problem solution evangelism. And so there's a white paper on it. And so it's like, so the challenge I have with churches is it's like the Bible, they talk about Jesus got all the answers, the Bible's got all the answers, but they're not giving answers. They're not even asking what the challenge is. They're just throwing up and saying, you need to do this, this, and this. Well, what's your challenge? What's the problem? So you just go ahead and listen to him. You say, that's really interesting. Then just do what Mike did and say, I got a friend and, he's an international speaker and author. Like, it's weird. Do I do it? I can do it. Okay. So I'm teaching adult Sunday school class at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Warrenville. So one of the churches my dad, started. And I'm teaching it for 10 years and none of the adults, 10 years I'm teaching this class, none of the adults are doing anything with what we're teaching. It's like, that's stupid. Like, so I get little stars and I put their names up on the wall and I give them assignments and, and then I put stars. Did you read? I mean, it's like I'm teaching kids and nothing. So after 10 years, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to develop my own curriculum. And my dad started church. I was one of the founding members. I was the chairman of the deacon board. The pastor was like my best friend. The associate pastor was my brother. I'm like, I'm going to develop an elective class and I'm going to do it. So I go and talk to the pastor and he's like, yeah, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? He's like, yeah, no. I'm like, how is that possible? My youngest brother, he was an associate pastor. He advocated for me, which I'll be forever thankful for. And he's like, goes to Dale. He's like, Dale, I mean, Mark's pretty solid biblically. Like he, and you get to review all the material before he teaches it. And
Sure.
Finally, he convinced the pastor to say yes. It's like, so we go ahead and teach. And there's, I don't know, a handful of people in the class. And there's this new believer, Michelle. Brand new, like she's only been a believer for 6 months, and she's at work and she comes up after class and she says, so it was the course was Operation Gideon, and so it was Operation Gideon. It was teaching about how to build a high producing Christian. That's what how do you build a high producing Christian? Like, pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so Michelle comes up to me after class and she says, they're kind of making fun of me at work for sharing Christ and stuff. I said, okay. And so I asked her, ask her a few questions. And I said, hey, ask them what their biggest challenge is. So she did. And she came back the next week and she says, there's this guy, Dan, and he's he doesn't know it, but he's almost about ready to get fired. And his marriage is a mess and his kids are a mess. Everything's a mess in his life. And I said, okay. So she said, what do I do? I said, well, why don't you ask him and just say, hey, Dan, ask him the biggest challenge. And he'll tell you and say, hey, I know this guy, this guy at church, he's kind of a crazy dude, but he owns a coaching company and he might be able to help you with that. And we'll go out to lunch. And she's like, we can do that? Sure. So the nice thing about me is I don't have a life. Like I don't have a life. Like, I just don't. Like, I have so much free time. It's insane. Like, Mark, you want to go out to lunch? I don't know. I might have to play pickleball one time less. You play 7 days a week. I know. Like, I don't know. Why? Because I don't have a life. I just go there to meet people and I don't know, whatever. And I got to get going here soon because I got to go. And so,
right.
anyways, so she's like, we can do that. I'm like, yeah, sure. So she comes back the next week. She's like, you're not going to believe this. She's so excited. She's like a little kid. She's like, he said yes. I said, that's awesome. So the three of us go out to lunch and we're sitting at lunch and she's sitting there, brand new Christian, like, and I'm like, so I asked, I said, well, Michelle had mentioned something about, you had some challenges, maybe in your life. And so we could talk about, your marriage or maybe your work or your kids or, spiritual maybe. So what I have found is when you ask a series of questions, the last question is almost always what people will go with. So what you do is you follow, you go. So there's intelligence. There's a method to the madness. It's like, so I want to talk about spiritual because, I don't know. I just felt that was a good thing to talk about, the core thing. So I said, which of those would you like to talk to? And he's like, how about the spiritual? I'm like, okay. So I say, well, what's your background in spiritually? And he's like, Catholic. And I said, okay. So I said, we talked a little bit. I said, has anybody ever explained to you, from the Bible on to how to get to heaven specifically? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And so I went ahead and, gave him like the Romans road. That's good. Strong in the Baptist, that you're,
Right.
You're a sinner, that Jesus Christ died on the cross, paid the penalty for your sin, and you accept him into your life to be your Lord and Savior. And, so a lot of people, a lot of different religions know that, they're sinner, know that Jesus Christ died on the cross, but they've never had that personal connection. In another podcast, we have, Mike, and Mike actually came to Christ through James McDonald. And it's just awesome. It's a great story. Anyways, so I said, has anybody ever said that to you, shared that with you? And he's like, yeah, no. And I said, oh, okay. Do you have any questions? He's like, well, how would I do that? I said, well, if you wanted to, it's in your heart. It's a heart decision. It's not some magic words, but if you wanted to, we could pray and I could, lead and then you could kind of follow and repeat, but it's in your heart. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I said, okay, would you like to do that now? And he's like, now? I said, yeah. He's like, in front of all these people? I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, couldn't we just shake hands on it? I'm like, no, you don't make this stuff up. You don't. And I'm like, sure. So I shake his hand. It's fine. Like, it's fine. I shake his hand. And then they go back to work. They'd driven together. They go back to work. And in the parking lot before they went back in, Dan said to Michelle, hey, could you pray with me now in the car? And they started coming to church, to marriage and everything. And Michelle's like, what? Like, it never happened like this. Like, in 10 years of teaching adult class, within a month, like, everything changes. So naturally, what's going to happen when you're finished up with that semester? What's going to happen?
Go on.
Right. Like, you produce something, you produce more in a month than you do in 10 years. Everybody's going to get like, why don't we bring this on? Why don't we do this? What happened? No, you can't teach it again.
Oh, my word.
Excuse me. Now, some of you probably are saying, Mark, did you leave the church? I didn't then. And maybe I should have. Maybe that would have been a good sign. Mark, here's a time to go. But I would have lost out on all the other great blessings that came after that, which we won't share now. But I'm like, I don't understand. And I didn't put up a fight. My brother didn't go and advocate for me again. I just like, this is just weird. I mean, this is just weird. But then I asked years later, a new church we attended, I asked the pastor, I said, so any church I attend, I just talk, if I'm talking pastor, he agrees with me. I said, hey, I was just curious, like, with all the things you got going, what's your biggest challenge? And this pastor said, well, my biggest challenge is I can't get my congregation to evangelize, to share Christ. I said, I actually have some ideas for that. So I wrote this white paper, P.S. Evangelism, for this pastor. I mean, it took me, I don't know how many hours, a number of hours, wrote the thing for him. And I was talking to another pastor, asked him down the street, he's a big mega church. And he said, well, my biggest challenge is how to help Christians grow quickly. And I'm like, what a great paper. Bring them to Christ and help them grow fast. Like, what a great thing. So I put this white paper together, PS Evangelism, problem solution evangelism. Like the Bible's got, like, go in and find out what people's problems are and then present a solution. And then they say, dang, that's a great solution. Where'd you get that from? The Bible. You mean the Bible has something? The Bible has something positive to say? You mean it actually has some solutions? You mean it actually can solve things? Right? I never even knew. Like, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. You got to go?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see you.
Bye.
Well, bye. So, anyways, I got to run here too, but I get just like, it's like, I've given that white paper. I can't even tell you how many pastors I've given it to, and like none of them read it.
That's surprising. I'd like to read it.
I'd like you to read it. Like,
Well, send it to me.
I will, and I'm
Okay.
gonna now. I'm motivated to put in a little booklet and
Yeah.
stuff, and so it's just, yeah. There's so many of those stories out there. You know, there's so many stories out there, and I kind of feel like, the grandfather that's walking along the beach, and there's, thousands of starfish, and he's picking them up and throwing them back into the ocean. And somebody says to him, "Why are you doing that?" And he's like, "Well, because they're going to die on
Right.
the beach." And the guy says, "Well, yeah, but there's thousands of them. And so there's only a few that you're going to throw back." And the grandfather says, "So what purpose does it have?" And the grandfather says, "Well, it has meaning to the starfish that I throw back." Now,
Great.
I'm kind of I think your grandkids call you, is it Papa?
Yeah.
My grandkids call me something that I've never heard anybody call. They call me Cray Cray.
Great.
Like crazy grandpa.
They
So for
probably
me,
got that from somebody else.
they did.
Yeah.
They did. They got it from my daughter, Katrina,
Right.
my middle daughter. She's like, "You're cray cray, grandpa." And then all of a sudden it becomes endearing. And now all of a sudden they're all jealous because I'm the crazy one. It's like, I want to be crazy too, like grandpa, right? Because kids love crazy grandpas. They just do. Anyways, I'm like, well, I'm going to figure out a system to take all the starfish and figure them all out, get them all back in. Like, I'm going to figure out that system on how to do that. And so,
wear a backpack blower and walk down the beach and
right? Something. There's going to be a way. Like, I'm going to leave them all. Like, why? I don't know. Because I can. Because I don't have a life. What else am I going to do? You guys have been fun. This has been an extended session. Appreciate you so much. Look forward to, and then have conversations throughout the week. Like, you guys connect together throughout the week, and I don't know, you share this with other people. Like, I don't know. And if you find a pastor, I'd love to have a pastor come on, and he would enjoy me a lot. I mean, for the first podcast, and they'd be like, "Mike, man, thanks. Like, you warned me about Mark and you said he's crazy, but he's not, he's charming. He's nice. He's so fun." And Mike would be just wait, or Jill or Ginger Ann. She's my oldest. Just wait. It's only a matter of time. No, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. If you do have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.